proud national spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns, and this is video 3 of a 3-part series to make the Cheerful cable slipper socks. By this point, you should have watched videos 1 and 2 and completed the sock from the cuff all the way down to the foot ready for the toe. This is a free pattern available at redheart.com. If you don't have the pattern yet, I've put a link to the pattern and the materials in the video description box right down there below. While you're down there, please smash that like button, as my kids say, to let other people know you've enjoyed this video series. Now, let's go ahead and jump in and learn how to make the toe of this slipper sock. As I mentioned, your homework should be complete up to this point. You created the cuff and the leg in video 1. You did the heel flap, the heel turn, and the gusset, and the foot of the sock in video 2. And now it's time to do the toe. This time around, I am going to follow the instructions verbatim and use the stitch markers as it's written in the pattern. If you remember in video 2, I didn't add stitch markers because they were just going to fall off my needle, but I will add them to this round for as long as I can keep them on my needle. So let's go ahead and jump in. Make sure you have some stitch markers handy. I'm going to pick up my work, and I did my last round. So I am starting at the bottom of my sock, so the bottom of the heel, if I can get the yarn to be in the correct place. And I'm going to start round 1 of the toe. And remember, I am making the size medium. So I want to start off by knitting 6 stitches. Then I will go ahead and I will knit 2 together. And then knit 1. Then it says to place a marker. So I'm just going to grab a marker and place it right there. Now I'm supposed to knit 1. I have to rotate. And I will do an SSK on this needle, okay? So I have knit 1 and now I'll do an SSK. So I slip 1 as if to knit, slip 1 as if to knit, and then put my left hand needle into the front leg of those 2 stitches, and then knit them together just like so. So that is my SSK. Now I will go ahead and I knit 12. Once I have knit those 12, I will work a knit 2 together. Notice I'm just rotating my needles around as I knead the stitches. So there's no rhyme or reason, I'm just following the instructions. So I did a knit 2 together, then I knit 1, place another marker, and I knit 1, and then work an SSK. And then I will go ahead and knit to the end of this needle. Okay, so what we have done here is we have begun the toe shaping, and the toe shaping is happening on either side of those 2 markers. In most sock patterns that I come across, you don't typically use markers in those places. The instructions usually will tell you exactly how many stitches to have on each needle, and it will tell you to work X number of stitches and then work your decrease, and it'll give you the instructions all the way through. I'm not really sure why these instructions are written with stitch markers. As you know, in video 2, I didn't use the stitch markers. In this video, I am, because they aren't going to fall off my needle, just so that you guys can see how they're used. So let's go ahead and continue on with the toe of our sock. Round 2, we are simply going to knit. So without any particular shaping, we will simply knit all the way around. When we come to those markers, we will just slip them. Another thing I think I will do is I'm going to place all of these stitches on one needle. So I'm going to get down to 4 needles instead of working with 5, just because I think it'll be easier. I guess I have to work this one first. And notice we are no longer working the cable pattern on the top of the toe. You are just going to create stockinette stitches. I mean, if this were me, I would place this stitch and this stitch on this needle, and I would just work my decreases that way. But you know, whatever, it's the same thing. We're getting the same results with the stitch markers. It's just not the way I would have written it. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different. All right, so I'm going to go on and keep knitting. All right, so we did 1 round knit. This round we're going to do another decrease round, okay? So we will knit to 3 stitches before the marker. 3 stitches before my marker. I will work a knit 2 together, then knit 1, slip my marker, knit 1, and then work an SSK. Again, I'm going to knit across. Let's see, I want to make sure I'm reading the instructions correctly. So we repeat from that. We knit to 3 stitches before our marker. So there's our marker. So 1, 2, 3. On this one, I'll work a knit 2 together. So I will knit 2 together. Rotate. Work a knit 1, slip my marker, knit 1, and then SSK. And then continue on down. So if I was not using the markers, I want to show you what I would do if I wasn't using the markers, okay? So we are on another just plain knitting round. So we're going to repeat round. Let's say this correctly. We're going to repeat rounds 2 and 3 for a total of 2, 3, or 4 times, depending on the size you're making. I have to repeat rounds 2 and 3 3 times for my size. So this is just a plain knit round. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I would do if I were not using markers. Okay. I'm going to get right here. I'm going to remove this marker. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to place that stitch that was after the marker directly onto that next needle, okay? And now, so that stitch is here. I'm going to knit to the end of this needle. Remember, this is where I usually do my decreases, right there on that last stitch. I am going to go ahead, I'm going to knit this 1 stitch before the marker onto that needle. Okay, so I've moved it over there. Remove the marker and now knit to the end. So now what I've done is I've arranged it so that my stitches are placed on my needles at the points that I need them to decrease. So from here on out, for me, I will knit to 2 or to 3 stitches before the end of this needle. I'll do a knit 2 together, knit 1, then I'll do a knit 1 SSK, come to the last 3 stitches of this needle, do a knit 2 together, knit 1, and then do a knit 1 SSK. You see how that works? To me, that just makes more sense, and that's the way most patterns are written. That's why I thought it was important to show you that as well, so that way if this is the first pattern you've come across, you know how other patterns are typically written. So here we are. I am working my knit 2 together and my knit 1, so that would be where my marker is, but I don't have a marker there because remember, it would just fall off. There's no reason to put a marker there. Turn my work, and this would be the first stitch after the marker is knit 1, and then it's SSK, And then I'll knit to the last 3 stitches. This will be my knit 2 together. And then knit 1, rotate, and then I'll do a knit 1 and an SSK. See how this works? So that was 1 repeat. I need to do that 2 more times. I want to get down to where I have 16 stitches total. As I've been working along, whenever I happen to forget one of the shiny pieces of the yarn, I try to make sure to snag it in a stitch. That way it doesn't hang out and get snagged. All right, so that was a repeat of round 2. So here's my repeat of round 3, which is a decrease. So I go to the last 3 stitches of my needle, or if you're using the markers, it would be 3 stitches before your marker, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 1 after the marker, work your SSK, knit to 3 stitches before your marker, work your knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 1 after your marker, work your SSK, and then knit to the end. So that was 2 repeats for me. I have to do 1 more. Again, I'm trying to get to 16 stitches total. This will be my final decrease round. Three stitches before my marker, knit 2 together, knit 1, slip your marker, knit 1, SSK, knit to 3 stitches before your marker, knit 2 together, knit 1, slip your marker, knit 1, SSK, and then knit to end. I have 16 stitches now, and the instructions say I'm supposed to knit to my first marker. So my first marker would be right there. So I am essentially knitting up to the end of this first needle. So I will knit 4. I'm at the end of that needle, and if I set down my work, I want you to see where I am here. This is the top of my foot, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And on the bottom of my foot, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And my yarn is over here to the side, okay? So when I pick up my work, I'm actually getting ready to work the inset stitches, all right? So my yarn is over here to the side. It's now important that we arrange the stitches to prepare for the Kitchener stitch. So the first thing I want to do is place all of these stitches from the foot of the sock on one needle. So instead of splitting it into 2 needles like we did after we did the heel turn, we're going to place all these onto one needle, okay? We have already placed all the instep stitches on one needle. I did that earlier. So now I have all the stitches worked or are placed on 2 needles, which is great. This is what I need to have happen in order to do the Kitchener stitch. The Kitchener stitch is not difficult, and I do have detailed instructions for it here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. I'll make sure to put a link right up there in that I button. But I'll walk you through the Kitchener stitch right now. I just want you to know that the instructions are available for you in case you work on another pattern later on and you want to come back and see how to do the Kitchener stitch. The Kitchener stitch is a way to graft the 2 sides of this fabric together, and it will look seamless. The first thing we want to do is make sure that we cut a length of yarn that is at least 3 times the total circumference of the foot here. And it's better to have more than enough than not enough. So I'm making sure I have quite a bit of yarn here, and I will snip it, okay? Now I want to thread that onto a bent tip tapestry needle. And I will tell you, these bent tip tapestry needles are super handy to do this with. So I'm going to thread that onto my bent tip tapestry needle, and let's see if I can zoom in here to this sock a little bit more. Okay, so here's what we want to do. With the top of the sock closest to me, the bottom of the sock away from me, and the yarn is attached to the bottom of the sock, okay? All of my stitches, I'm going to put them up a little bit closer to the tip of the needle and hold both of these needles in my left hand. With the yarn threaded onto a tapestry needle, I want to make sure that I am not over top of a needle, between the needles, or anything like that, okay? It's underneath that back needle. And we're going to go like this. We're going to insert our yarn needle through the first stitch on the front needle as if to knit. So I'm going to go into that stitch there as if to knit, okay? And I will slip that stitch off and pull that yarn through. You see that so far? Now I want to insert the same needle through the second stitch on the front needle as if to purl and leave that stitch on and pull that through. Now bringing this yarn underneath the needles, okay? I'm going to go into the first stitch on the back needle as if to purl, and I will take that off, pull that through, and then I will go into the second stitch on the back needle as if to knit and leave that on. Okay? Come back to the front needle, we will go in as if to knit, and then take that off, and then go in as if to purl on the second stitch and leave it on. Going underneath the needles, go to the back, go in as if to purl and take it off, and then go in as if to knit and leave it on. Come back to the front, go in as if to knit and take it off. Go in as if to purl and leave it on. You continue in this motion until all of the stitches on the needles are sewn off using the Kitchener stitch. You can see here that it's seaming close the top of the sock. Go back to the front, knit, take it off, purl, leave it on. Purl, take it off, knit, keep it on. Make sure your yarn is always underneath the needles, okay? Knit, take it off, purl, leave it on. Purl, take it off, knit, leave it on. Knit, take it off, purl, leave it on. Purl, take it off, knit, leave it on. knit, take it off, purl, leave it on, purl, take it off, knit, leave it on. Now, there is a lot of discussion about what to do with these last two stitches. We could go in as if to knit and take it off, and then purl and take it off. Sometimes that will leave ears. Some other ways you could do it is there's a manipulation that you can do of these stitches to do the Kitchener stitch without ears. Again, I have a video for that specifically right here on the channel. I'll put a little link to it right up there. But because I want to follow along with the instructions, I will go ahead and finish these off with a knit and take it off, and then go straight out back to the back one as if to purl and take it off. So when I give those a pull, you can see that's the ear I was talking about, but we can get rid of that ear pretty easily here. If we stick our hand into the sock, take the needle, and then stick this needle right down the side there. Can you see I'm just putting it down the side right there? And I'm gonna pull it to the inside. And when I do that, it's going to pull that ear in along with it, okay? If it sticks out a little bit, it'll get worked in a little bit with the wash. You can always come back up through with your needle before you weave stuff in and grab it again if you want. Let's see, I'm going to go back up and just grab it and bring it back down just so that I make sure I have that end nice and tucked in. Once you have the Kitchener stitch completed, you can see that the toe of the sock looks seamless. You would never know that there were two independent sides of this and they were seamed together. And that's because we use the Kitchener stitch, which is simply beautiful. All you would do now is go ahead and weave in your tails. So all my tails are on the inside of my sock, and your slipper sock is complete with everything except this final finishing touch, which is the I-cord with the pom-pom tassels. But look how cute this is. This is adorable. While you guys are finishing the toe of the sock, I'm going to grab a sock blocker to put this on so that way you guys can see it in its full shape. And then we're going to begin the I-cord, so that way you can then apply the I-cord and the pom-pom to the top of your slipper sock. It's one of those finishing touches that I think is super adorable, and I hope that it's one that you do not skip if you're making these wonderful socks. So go ahead, finish the toe of your sock, join me back here, and we'll make the I-cord and the pom-pom. I'm back. Hopefully you have finished the toe of your sock, and I have placed the slipper sock on a sock blocker. And so looking at it on the sock blocker, I think it's a lot easier to actually see the shape of the sock. This is the cuff that we completed. You can see the eyelets right there where we will be threading through some I-cord, the leg of the sock, the heel flap, which we did this little garter stitch ridge right there. I don't know why. I don't know if that might be a mistake in the pattern version that I am working up, but if you decided you wanted to make those purl stitches instead of knit stitches like I did and what was written in the pattern originally, you could make those all purls when you worked them on the wrong side, so that way you won't get that ridge there. Then we did the heel flap, the heel turn, picked up stitches for the gusset, decreased the gusset, worked the foot of the sock, and then we just completed the toe, including our really beautiful Kitchener stitch right there. Super beautiful. Now the last part of this slipper sock is the I-cord and the pom-pom. So the first thing we're going to make is the I-cord. I-cord is really quite simple. We are going to use 2 of our double pointed needles, and we will start off by casting on 3 stitches. And I'm going to use the long tail cast on because that's what we started off with, and you know what, why not? So there's 1 stitch for my slip knot, and there's 2, and then here's 3. What you need to do when we create I-cord is to knit these stitches, and you must make I-cord on double pointed needles or circular needles, because we are going to move all of those stitches to the opposite end of the needle. And with our working yarn over here coming off needle or stitch number 3, we will start off and knit stitch number 1. So we just come all the way over here, we stitch number 1, number 2, and then number 3. Now all my stitches are on that needle. I scoot them down. Again, my yarn is coming off stitch number 3, so I go ahead and I knit in stitch number 1 and number 2 and number 3. Shift them down, so on and so forth. You continue making the I-cord until it measures 20, 22, or 24 inches, or until it's the desired length you wish. Go ahead, work on your I-cord until it's the length you desire. When you've reached the desired length for your I-cord, we want to finish off these stitches. So I'm going to knit 1, and then I like to knit 2 together, and then have that 1 stitch jump over the others, okay? And then just pull that after you cut a tail, give it a pull, and you have a nice finished I-cord. Once you've completed the I-cord, the next step is to weave it through the eyelets that you created on your slipper sock. I like to use the tail that I left remaining when I made my I-cord and thread that into my bent tip tapestry needle, and this will act as my guide. Now, if I have these socks both completed, there'll be a left foot and a right foot. And I want to make sure that my I-cord is coming out not like dead center, unless that's what you want, but I'm going to prefer to have one a little bit over to the left and then one a little bit over to the right, and then wear the socks according to whatever foot so that way my I-cord is on the outside. So what I'm going to do is I will start off and I will start putting my I-cord in through that eyelet. And then I'm going to come out through that big eyelet over there. And let's see, let's go into this one and come out that one. I'm using these big eyelets that I have available to me. Just rotating around. And if I go in this one, I will come back out the one I started with. And for me, I think that works. Like, that's what I want. So I'm going to just make sure I have it pulled quite a bit. So that way the ends of my I-cord here are the same length. There we go. Make sure you can still get your foot into there. Perfect. Okay. Now, something that you are probably seeing here that I haven't talked about yet is the pom-pom. So one of the cool things about this particular stocking here is that it comes with this really cool I-cord and then a pom-pom attached. You can use any pom-pom maker you want to make your pom-poms and then simply attach them to the I-cord. I use the Susan Bates Easy Wrap pom-pom maker to make these 2 pom-poms right here, and I have a video for this particular maker right here on YouTube, so I'll put a link to it in that little I button. But to attach the pom-pom to your I-cord, this is what I did. I left my long center bit actually for the pom-pom. And I'm going to partner that up with my long tail that I left on my I-cord. Okay, so they're partnered up together. And now I'm going to tie those together. I'm using a nice acrylic yarn, same yarn I used for the stocking itself. And when I tie these together, I want to make sure I get as close to the I-cord as possible. Okay, once I do that, I have all 3 strands together. So this is the 2 strands that were on the pom-pom and then 1 from the tail of the I-cord. And I'm just going to tie a knot around the I-cord again, just to kind of make it a little bit more secure. And I like to wrap it around a couple times and then bring it down to where the connection is. Just give it a nice tug. Pretty simple. And then I just like to snip these nice and close so that way it looks like it's just an extension of the pom-pom. No big deal. And you have a nice little set of pom-poms attached to the I-cord. So what you could do here, and I made my I-cords nice and long. I actually made them longer than what was written in the pattern because I wanted to be able to tie them if I wanted to and have the pom-poms out. So let me put this on a sock blocker. All right, so I'm putting this in the sock blocker. Look how adorable this is right now. This is the slipper sock. You can see the pom-pom attached to the I-cord, and it's slightly over here to this side of the stocking. So if I wore it, it would be on the outside of the foot ever so slightly. Super adorable. I have enough I-cord here that if I wanted to double tie those, I could. And it just looks super cute. Absolutely adorable for lounging around the house. Again, I want to remind you that this little section right there, I really feel like that should have been purled on the wrong side, but I was following the pattern that I had on hand. You decide what you want and go with it. Just make sure you do it for both pair or both socks. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. You've learned how to make some really cute slipper socks using Red Heart with Love Metallic. These are fun, fast, and they will be a great gift this holiday season, or if you want to wear them year-round, you go for it. I'm Marley Bird, proud national spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. Bye. Don't leave yet. I have more videos just like that one right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Maybe there's a crochet video or a knitted video that you will love. If you've enjoyed making socks, make sure you check out the sock knit along I did for the My First Socks. When you find a video you like, make sure you smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe.